Hello everyone, this is Here's Trivia. Welcome back to another round of 8 matchup here in the third season of our subscriber game tournament as we continue with the matchup between Trivenicus and Beihai Butchers. In their first match, Beihai Butchers opted for the attacking side and got stopped by a very well played defense featuring Yanbaihu and Liu Chong. Some very good ability usage and terrain usage to use those narrow streets to abuse Poison Volley. And now Beihai Butchers on the defense as he hoped to hold this match as well as to tie up the series to force a blind pick open field third match. So we'll see if he can do it by first taking a look at their pick and bans. So this time Trivenicus is on attack, so he will kick things off with a ban of Huang Fusong answered by Xu Huang, Yuan Shao, Yan Baihu, Lu Zhi, and He Man. So for the attacking side bans, even though the players have flipped, the bans are the same. We are banning away unbreakable units and distant courage. So both Huang Fusong and Lu Zhi's Defender of Empire are banned, and we have distant courage banned by banning out Yuan Shao. So most attackers don't want to deal with this sort of strong defensive setup inside, and that's understandable. Although personally, I think Lu Zhi's ban might be a little bit extra because it does open up some options for the defending side, and it might be kind of overkill to ban out a strategist trying to pick up spear unit. Anyhow, for the defensive side on this matchup, Beihai Butchers banning out Strong General and Xu Huang, banning out Yan Baihu, does not want to deal with that Poison Volley again, and also banned out He Man, which is interesting because Health Arrow users are plentiful, and I guess He Man does have Surprise Attack as well, so does not want to deal with stock, does not want to be forced to pick up someone like Zhou Yu and lose that character because strategists just have much lower stats and health. But that leads to a first pick of Zhang Jiao by Trivenicus on the attacking side. I do wonder if we're going to see a sacrifice Zhang Jiao for invincibility to go through those towers. Definitely an option, as he can force Zhang Jiao to die just by charging him into the towers, which would be quite an interesting strategy that we have not seen so far. But the unit choices on Zhang Jiao is going to be quite limiting because the best unit, the cheapest value, would be Messenger of Heaven, but cavalry units are not very good on siege battles, so we'll see what he brings. And to answer that, we have Cao Ren picked up. Now this is an interesting pickup because for the defensive side, Cao Ren's typically a ban. Leaving him up potentially for Trivenicus to pick up in the first pick was quite dangerous, and since Trivenicus didn't pick it, I would imagine Cao Ren is probably not someone that Trivenicus wants to play, and picking him here for defensive side, I just don't know how well it would work. If Trivenicus goes slow, then of course infinite heal will be very helpful, but once the attacking side sees the defensive side have infinite heal, they will definitely not go slow. So this will be a very fast match, or else it will heavily favor Beihai Butchers as that heal can be used on both generals and units. It does not bring anything dead back alive, but per unit health can be healed to the fullest. Then the next round of bans, we have Beihai Butcher banning out Liu Chong, once again a general that haunted him in the previous match, and Trivenicus is going to ban out Zhang Liao, which is a very good defensive pick, a general used by Trivenicus in the first matchup. And that leads to a pick by Beihai Butchers in Huang Gai, which is first appearance in the tournament. Very interesting pick. We do have a firebomb ability which can kill clustered infantry. But for a defensive side to pick a fire ability, it's very risky in my opinion, because any sort of mishap means you're going to be burning down a good chunk of your own settlement, which might not be the smartest thing to do. So both Cao Ren and Huang Gai makes more sense on the offensive side, but maybe there is something up his sleeve. Maybe he intends to fight this battle outside the walls, which is actually a pretty good place to fight your battles, and we'll see in deployment. Then Trivenicus picked Gongdu in response, so now we have 2 Yellow Turban generals picked, and Gongdu is a pretty strong general just by himself. Unit choices could be all over the place. Not sure exactly what Trivenicus wants to do here. Perhaps this is a theme army. And Beihai Butcher definitely thinks so, because the next round of bans, we have Lu Bu banned by Trivenicus and Huang Shao banned by Beihai Butcher. So he's now starting to ban Yellow Turban Generals, thinking that it's going to be a thematic army, which definitely could be. And Huang Shao's main strength is that he also has surprise attack, so Beihai Butchers basically don't want to deal with any sort of stock, even if it's temporary. And Lu Bu just being an all-around strong general, good stop ability, so I'm guessing he's going to feel a lot of infantry, doesn't want to get smashed. Lu Bu is definitely strong into that. Also have Dragon Gaze to stop any sort of attacking advances, buy more time for towers, all around a good ban. And that leaves the final blind picks, and we have Trivenicus picking up Zhang Liang, so this is going to be an all-yellow turban comp. And Zhang Liang's unit is also curious because his best unit is clearly the Tyrant Slayer, and that's another cavalry unit, so I don't know how this comp's going to work here in a siege attack. Zhang Jiao is a healer, so he can pick up a trebuchet. We'll see if he opts into that. And then we have Kong Rong picked up by Beihai Butchers. So first time true to his name, he's going to bring some Furies of Beihai in his last defense here. And this is a curious hidden pick because you end up hiding your strategist all the way till the end, which is a little bit shocking since he did ban out Yan Baihu, which to me symbolized he doesn't want to deal with stock and doesn't want to pick up a strategist because of that. But Kong Rong is definitely a good choice. Furies of Beihai is a very powerful unit, especially in siege maps, where you can have advantage of walls as well as narrow corridors, choke points to buy your units more time to fire on the enemy, and Fury Beihai is definitely very strong. So let's see what units these guys brought with these generals. And looking at the unit composition, starting with Trivenicus on the green side, we have an all-cav army in siege attack, which is insane if he pulls this off. We have 6 units of Messenger of Heaven, 6 units of Tyrant Slayer, slightly upgraded, and a bunch of random Yellow Turban Cavs on Gongdu just to fill out the roster. Those horseback huntsmen only have 30 units each. They're not going to be good at burning down anything. Just don't count on them doing that. That's really not their job. I believe some of these units will have the Raider trait, so technically they could burn down the settlement just by running past the buildings and leaving them idle next to some. But still a very interesting pickup. We have literally 16 cavalry units led by 3 Yellow Turban Generals against a full settlement. This is going to be a very uphill battle. And on Beihai Butcher's side, a very even comp. Something that you actually expect to see. We have some Northern Spear Guards for the formation, a couple of Qingzhou Assault Infantry on Cao Ren. We have 2 Cheap Cav plus 1 Tiger Guard on Huang Gai, which is a good choice. You basically have a few cheap cavalry to throw out there if they potentially have a siege weapon to threaten the flank, and to potentially loop the enemy cavalry around your settlement if they chase you and respawn. You have more towers to do that, and the Tiger Guard for the guard passive. And then we have 3 units of Fury of Beihai, nicely upgraded, and 1 unit of Defender of Earth. Now, the question with this Defender of Earth, once again, is unless you're defending at the wall similar to Huang Gai, any sort of missed shot is going to burn your settlement, which is not something you want to see. So I wonder what the idea behind that is. Perhaps to stop potential usage of the battering ram and the siege tower, as they can burn those down, although so far we have not seen any player try to use those. So let's see how this one actually plays out on the battlefield. And looking at deployment here, it seems like there's no trickery, or perhaps there's no upfront trickery. The 2 siege weapons been left here, the army's been placed here, yet somehow, where are the siege weapons? They've been placed here? Well, that's curious. What indication does Beihai Butcher have to place the siege weapons here? That's a super odd choice, given that these 2 are visible. Maybe it's mind game. Maybe they dumped it here, and then also placed the unit here to psych the opponent out, in that they could be anywhere but here. Because who in their right minds would put the siege weapon where their units actually are? That could be a very good mind game. So we'll see how that goes. You can see some Yellow Turban Horsemen over here. Lots of cav. Lots and lots and lots of cav. So back to that third pick. Given the 2 general that were picked in the comp, I still don't know if Corone was perhaps the best choice. Obviously, there are some potential unbreakable units on the Yellow Turban roster, but Zhang Jiao's choices are probably going to be Messenger of Heaven. There was probably other better generals to stop that, but there's plenty. There's choke points. You know, these 2 Northern Veteran Spears can set up 2 choke point each at these towers. There's nothing really that can burn them. These are not going to burn them anytime. You'll see, the fire arrows just cannot burn these fast enough. So they can definitely hold these choke. Fury should be more advanced. They currently don't see them, so deploying in the center here is totally fine. Once you identify where the enemy is, march up to whichever corridor they need to be and try to hold the point. There's no siege weapon usage, so they have to kind of just bash the door down. Are they here to tank arrows for the generals? Zhang Jiao can just do that. Zhang Jiao should be the one running out first, start tanking arrows. Whatever damage done to him is great because he's lower health, closer to death. Right, so this is pretty clear. Starting to see all the units come out. Starting to see the full cav come out, trying to shoot a couple generals with the bow. Cavalry come out. Infantry move up, hold the choke. Hold the gate in this case. 1 spear unit in formation here stops literally everything. Are we not moving up? The gate's open. Oh. Messenger of Heaven. Are we just brute forcing this? Do we have the nameplates wrong? Because this is clearly a Beihai butcher strategy from round 1. So they took the gates, they took the tower. Even this one? Are they gonna hold here? Are they gonna try to hold here? This is costly. I mean, it could be more costly if the infantry actually moved up. Oh, we're just gonna charge. Okay, we're just gonna charge. Maybe give a heal? I mean, you don't use it, you lose it. It's free. It's infinite. Oh, firebomb. Let's see him throw it. Whee! Eh. And I think he burned his own building throwing it up. Yep, that's the thing. You're throwing fire weapons at home. You can see the firebomb being shot over here. And if anything accidentally touched this, being oil arrows, they're burning down their own tower. And even if they don't control it now, it's still settlement damage. Now the Furies are going to town. We're seeing some flanks. They're not going to burn anything down anytime soon. This is the Raider trait. So we sent 3 to the side. This is not actually going to work. The crossbow is going to shoot them. The tower is going to shoot them. I actually don't think these are going to do anything. These Tyrannosaurus are just going to die. Zhang Jiao's been thrown in first, which is super smart. Kind of break up the enemy formation. Doesn't matter what damage is done back to him. Are they just going to charge through, though? Okay, we're pulling back to the center. How far back are we worried about? Okay, they just bypass the tower. That's a lot of damage. I mean, it's because they stopped shooting, because they've been relocated back. Like, in this instant, there's nothing Tauren can really do. Like, the heal, how many times can you really heal in this situation? Yeah, one of those Tyrant Slayer, or those were Raider Cav, that they were killed. I thought there was 3 units being sent over here. Why do I only see 2? The Raider Cav are Beihai Butchers. Maybe he called one of them back? Or maybe they all died. I mean, they left these troops and just abandoned them. They're just dead. Now they come out. Throw another firebomb? There we go. Throw another firebomb. I don't think it's going to be that great against cavalry. There's just way more per unit health on the cavalry. they're just not going to kill anything with the firebomb. Infantry, you could get a pretty good chain reaction going. Yeah, it's not a lot of explosive damage. Like, you have similar to infantry health, but 4 times per unit. Actually, this is only 2 times because of messenger, but still. Now, another major Ooh, how did Huangai get chunked so much? Oh, Tyrant Slayers. But now the Qingzhou Assault Infantry is not a anti-cavalry unit. It's actually a purple infantry that's now going to get charged by a lot of cavalry still. And you can see the settlement damage starting to build up with just the Raider traits. And there's just no room. They're not even firing. This is not a great angle for the crossbow units. Like, they literally don't see much. Yeah, there's a lot of friendly fire going on with the bomb arrows. There we go. You can see the arc. These are all blocking them. It's just not a lot of shots going out. Alright, Coron used his ability. It's no time to heal, and I think Huangai is also quite low now. Probably gonna rout due to another firebomb. His third and last one. Does he even throw it out? No, he's routed. I think the crazy cavalry comp is going to work. Zhang Jiao is still alive. It's like, worst case scenario, Zhang Jiao dies here and then cavalry gets invincible. I mean, they're inside the Beihai. Yeah, there's not much they can do. Taran wants to get down and fight. Hongdu is still almost full health. A Qingzhou unit, once misplaced devotion ends, they're just gone. Also, the weighted unit capture, it's going to swing the other way very soon. The last Qingzhou unit gave. Taran's still going to be the last one standing. I mean, he definitely used the heal, I just didn't catch it. Maybe once or twice, but, you know, that little amount of heal is not really going to mean much in this situation. And then we have a defender here. And that's it. Wow. In my opinion, I think a lot of players have an issue with abandoning their defense. There's a couple arguments to be made here. I think defending up here is probably impossible because the units are all hidden. So you don't really know which direction they come for. You don't know how widespread they are. Unless you did a vision strategist, then you actually know. But in this case where he did not pick one, he cannot place all his units up front in the beginning. So he placed them here, which is, oh, actually he placed them here in the beginning, which is totally valid. But once you see them bashing at your gate with all 3 generals, they should move up. You should hold these tower points as much as you can because you come with 3,000 funds less than your opponent. Don't give them any more advantages. Don't give up your actual towers. The towers and the siege weapons, the tools of the streets, that's the defensive advantage, right? That's supposed to even out the 3,000 fund difference. But if you give up all that for free, then you're fighting with a 12k army versus a 15k army, and the 12k army, unless played really, really well, is going to lose sitting in the middle like this. This is like picking an open field fight, and you have 3,000 less to spend compared to your opponent. And that's just not going to end well. It's a little bit unfortunate. I don't really fault Beihai Butcher that much for the comp because you can't really predict what units you're going to be facing when you see only 2 of the generals in Zhangjiao and Gongdu. It doesn't spell full cav aggression. Like, that's not the first instinct. Yeah, sure, you might pick up a few messenger heaven, good value, melee infantry, but then you're expecting some infantry, maybe some Yoxia unbreakable unit, maybe some militia of virtue, a chanter, maybe peasants, and then you get this full-on cavalry aggression, which is just unexpected because Zhang Liang came in as the last blind pick and turned out to be full Tyrant Slayers, which I don't think those units even matter that much. They got one frontal charge on Huang Gai, which is a bit unfortunate. I think for these choke points, a lot of players like to stack a lot of infantry here. If you have good infantry, one is enough because you just kind of want to blunt them and they can stand there and fight quite a long time. Depends on if your enemy has any sort of slam abilities or not. But essentially, they ran out of infantry to protect their range. And the range, once you put crossbow units like elevated back here, they can't see anything. And they can't arc their shot over. There was this gate board over here that got burned down by Huang Gai's ability. But before that burned down, they can't shoot over that. They can't see any targets. So that was kind of wasted. I think this was just kind of bad terrain to kind of use that. They need to be over here, honestly. But it's hard for them to do that since this was vision. There was no vision of the enemy. And somehow they got tricked. I think that was a very good mind trick to put the siege weapon out in the open and then still pick the same direction to kind of fool the deployment of the Bastion siege weapons, which is kind of nice to see. Anyhow, this means a sweep, and let's take a look at the numbers. And Trivenicus takes another pretty decisive win, even though this one's Pyrrhic victory versus the heroic one, but also seems quite one-sided with the charge. The general choices, like I mentioned, even the pick ban, Tauren doesn't really fit what you want on the defending side, because you don't have the luxury of time unless your opponent's doing something really weird. And Huang Gai, with that firebomb ability, as you've seen both throws, he threw it 3 times, but on 2 of the throws, it also damaged some parts of the settlement. And, he's lucky it didn't hit any of his towers. The bomb arrow as well. It's very hard to push those units up in vision. And even in this pretty bad deployment situation, the Furies got enough shots on those flanking Tyrant Slayers to knock out a lot of them. You can see the kill count doesn't seem high, but they're shooting at cavalry, so it's not bad numbers. Those Northern Spear Guard units, I still think are terrible choices. I think a lot of players are picking Northern Infantry, partially because the generals that have them available are pretty numerous, and you do get formations on them. But I think for their costs, they're not that great. Like, they're up against a pretty decent matchup against cavalry, and they just can't get enough kills, partially because Zhang Jiao kind of charged into them first, but still, it's not an efficient unit to use, and the generals never really try to fight back. I think part of that reason is because Zhang Jiao's present. You really don't want to dismount your 3 generals and charge at Zhang Jiao, only to have cavalry charge back at you. So that was a very awkward situation, and Tiger Guard died alongside all the spears. So all 3 spear units was in the front. The generals sort of left them, pulled back to the center, and then they were overran pretty quickly. Then you lose that guard passive as well. Tiger Guard is also a very expensive version of a spear guard, basically what you want here, and that was kind of that. So quite an unfortunate situation, and well played by Trivenicus. A very bold strategy. Definitely was riding high after his first win and took this risk of running an all-cav comp in a siege battle. And it worked. So congrats to him as he takes this win and advance into our semifinals. And we have one last pair between Peanuts and Will Be Deed, and that'll be coming up next. So until then, bye.